Call Laura now. 1-800-876-4123.
We need to work together, Democrats and Republicans, to get it done. But I've got to tell you, the other side, right now, they're feeling kind of cocky, and they don't see it that way.
Wow, that's pretty amazing, isn't it? Barack Obama calling someone else cocky, and Barack Obama complaining that the Republicans aren't working with him. Oh, okay. Anything else? This is hilarious. Actually, it's unwittingly hilarious. But remember in the Obama diaries, we knew they were funny. Remember, we got Dallas and Houston. Grady, Max, Raymond, and I are back on the road, and the Obama Diaries live. We had a huge sellout performance. We're getting incredible reviews. You've seen the emails coming in? People had so much fun. So you got to go to the website. It's the 20th and 21st of November. Joining us now, I'm delighted he's with us. Our old friend, former governor of Massachusetts, presidential candidate and author of No Apology, The Case for American Greatness, Mitt Romney joins us now on the campaign trail, raising tons of money for all the right people. Hey, Mitt, how are you?
I am terrific, thank you. How you doing, Laura?
I'm great. $1.7 million you raised, I think it was between July and September. You outpaced pretty much everybody else out there who's considered a presidential hopeful. How you doing that without, selling that Lake Winnipesaukee house?
Well, this really is a time for anybody in the party who has any pull at all to get out with their friends and pull them into the voting places, but also to get them to give contributions to people they care about. And this is a watershed election for the country. The question is there a mandate for Barack Obama to keep on pushing through his agenda, or is there a mandate for conservatives to say, whoa on all the spending, whoa on all the borrowing, no more Obamacare, no cap and trade, no card check? That's what's up right now.
Governor, the president and the Democrats are already setting the post-election narrative, and here it is. This just shows you that the Republicans need to work with the Democrats. This concern about, this was all mean, and we need to be bipartisan. What would your message be to the Republican leadership in Washington, D.C. when it comes to, quote, compromising with Obama if indeed the Republicans win big on Tuesday?
Well, of course, the right course is to stand firm on principle. The reason that people are flocking to Republican candidates and conservatives across the country is because we stand for something, and that is to stop the excess growth of government, to keep government from being so intrusive in the lives of our citizens. That's what this election is all about. Obama's economic policy did not work. Obamacare is being roundly rejected by the American people. And frankly, as you know, Laura, he put through his agenda without any attempt to try and get Republicans to work with him. It was the opposite of bipartisanship. So for him to suggest that now he's going to be bipartisan, or that Republicans should be bipartisan, is absurd.
But they always do this, right? Every time Republicans win big, we have no mandate, and we have to work with Democrats. Every time they win, well, it just shows you they have a huge mandate to put forth a ridiculous stimulus bill, and then, of course, take over the car company, and then, of course, push through health care. So their mandate is unquestioned, but we never have a mandate. We just have to apparently roll over on every major issue. It's just ridiculous. Governor, I want to move on to some of the specific races in Massachusetts. You've been so involved in these, and we have been with Sean Belat from the very beginning against Barney Frank. People said he had no chance, he had no shot. Now we find out that Barney Frank lent his own campaign $200,000. Why is it so important that Belat win, and what do people in Massachusetts need to know about Barney Frank before they pull that lever on Tuesday?
Well, I think people would conclude that Barack Obama is a humble, self-effacing person if they spend a lot of time with Barney Frank. Because Barney's sense of grandeur is beyond any proportion that I'm aware of. And frankly, Barney Frank has not been willing to admit that he, more than perhaps any other person in America, is singularly responsible, or is most responsible, for the collapse of our financial system. He was the chairman of the Financial Services Committee, and he was one of those encouraging lenders to give loans to people who couldn't possibly meet the payments. He was standing against the reform of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Barney Frank, you may like him as a person, you might even like his politics. I don't, but in terms of saying, hey, this is a guy who had made enormous mistakes and deserves to go, that's the case in the Barney Frank race.
Now, this is critical, and I know you've been doing a lot of campaigning also in Rhode Island with John Laughlin, who's running for Patrick Kennedy's seat and doing an enormous amount. People like Charlie Baker, Deval Patrick, old friend of Barack Obama's. Baker looks like he has a good shot. Are you hopeful that there will be significant gains in the ridiculously liberal New England that I'm from and obviously you're from?
Well, I do think so, and I think that you're going to see, for instance, New Hampshire is going to go solidly Republican again.
Awesome.
Which is finally time for that to happen again. And I think in Massachusetts you're going to see Charlie Baker win. I know the polls show it very, very close, and maybe they show Deval Patrick up a couple of points, but the voter intensity is overwhelmingly on the side of conservatives right now. And I think for that reason you'll see Charlie win. I think you'll see Mary Z. Connaughton, our auditor, win. Karen Polito, the treasurer, she'll win. I'm hoping we're going to pick up a couple congressional seats. That's always hard. But and you're right in Rhode Island. I think we're going to see a Republican governor there, and I think you're going to see us pick up Laughlin's seat. This is away from Patrick Kennedy.
Huge.
This is huge.
This is just, I go back to Connecticut a lot. My dad lives there, governor, and I was there a couple of weeks ago. I was talking to all my friends there. What are you people doing? How could you, if you don't put Linda McMahon in, you elect this Blumenthal, then you get everything you deserve. I'm telling you, you get the government you deserve. And so, I'm talking myself, blue in the face here. Governor Politico had a big piece yesterday that's gotten everyone in Washington talking, and it cites you in this paragraph. It said, nearly all of the people interviewed in the piece called Next for GOP Leaders, Stopping Palin. Nearly all of the interviewees insisted on keeping their views on background. Then it goes on, but top Republicans, from presidential hopefuls Mitt Romney and Tim Pawlenty to highly influential advisors such as Rove and Gillespie, are said to be concerned Sarah Palin will run and could win. Did you talk to Politico and express that sentiment?
That story is nonsense. No, I did not talk to Politico and express that sentiment. But the story is nonsense because, first of all, I know Sarah Palin pretty well, and if she wants to run, there's no group of elites in Washington I know of that are going to stop her. And secondly, she would be a great thing for the Republican primary process. She brings attention, energy, interest on the part of the electorate. She would be very good for Republican primary process. Whether or not I'm in it is a different matter. But she is not going to be stopped if she wants to get in, and she'd be a good thing if she did get in.
Well, according to Politico, Karl Rove and Ed Gillespie are basically working to try to stop her before she gets any bigger than she is. Along with others. Now, they don't cite any quotes on the record, but my point on this, Governor, is that that's just an odd thing. And your comment that you just made reminds me of that you're really smart, because that is exactly what Republicans need to do. Everyone needs to work together.
Well, I'll tell you, there was a time when the elites in Washington thought they could call the shots. What we found is that now that the party is overwhelmingly driven by the energy and passion of the grassroots, that the elites in Washington may be feeling a little left out, and that's a good thing. It is up to the voters in the primaries to decide who our nominee is going to be, and that's the way it should be. And the elites may get together, but guess what? No one's listening to them.
Yeah, this we have to have learned one thing from 2006, 2007, 2008. That you can't resist the will of the people, for too long. whether it's on immigration or any of these other issues, you got to listen to what's happening out there, and it's profound. I think it's bubbling up from the ground, and that's what people need to take note of. And I think it's all just really positive, And I know you're going to be making your plans. When are you going to announce if you're running or not, or when you're running?
I don't know the answer to that. I haven't made the decision. I haven't made the decision about when to make the decision. So
really,
it'll be. It's going to be certainly after Tuesday, and maybe a long time after that. Just haven't figured that one out. But by the way, I agree with you. I know that a lot of people, particularly the mainstream media, that was apoplectic about the Tea Party. The Tea Party is what has energized our party. It has energized conservatives across the country to get them out and to get them to vote. And the reason we're going to do so well on Tuesday is not just because the generic ballot, so-called, looks good, but instead because the voter intensity is high, and the voter intensity is high because of the Tea Party. And where the Tea Party stands for smaller government and lower taxes. That is what my party stands for. So I got to tell you, I think we're going to see a very good Tuesday night.
Is it true that you're going to be dressing up in revolutionary garb and actually pouring a big crate of tea into Boston Harbor on election night? I understand you and Ann are going to. I think it's wonderful that you do that historic reenactment for us on election night. I think that would be loads of fun, and I'll show up for that.
Okay, Laura, if we're going to get personal, I'm going to tell you that you looked absolutely gorgeous with George Stephanopoulos on Good Morning America the other morning. You were as brilliant as you are gorgeous. So there it goes. Obviously, you've gotten your eyes treated in Romney care. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That is isn't that a horrible joke? You're so nice. You're so nice. And Governor, that was my last question. How are you going to finesse this Romney care in Massachusetts? You know, if the revolt against Obamacare, you're going to have to distinguish that between Obamacare. People say it's the same thing. And I know you've addressed it before, but just briefly, how will you be addressing that? Well, I can tell you what I say to folks today that ask the question, and that's pretty straightforward, which is, well, you start off by saying, our bill was a 70-page bill. His bill is 2,000 pages, and the reason they're so different in size is because of the different purpose. Our purpose was to try and help get people insured at the state level by a state. His purpose is to have the federal government take over all of health care. What we were trying to do is to get the health care system to work like a market. He's trying to get the healthcare system to work like a government-managed and regulated utility.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an entirely different approach, and there's some similarities, but the differences are stark. And perhaps the most significant is his is a federal government intrusion in the rights of states. I'm a federalist. I believe in states' rights.
State experiments. Right,
Yeah.
It's a state experiment. I know it's the polling isn't so great on Romney care. Would you say the experiment has failed, or did it succeed?
Well, it's taught a lot of things. It's taught us a lot of things, and there's some things you'd do differently if you had to do it again. That's the nature of experiments. And it's far from perfect. We knew that from the beginning. It needs to be improved. And there's some things it does that are good. There's some other things that it does that should not be good, or that are not good. But one thing's for sure. The president was absolutely wrong to impose his view on the entire country. That is not the way a federalist system is supposed to work.
Well, Governor, I always said that we need a real CEO, someone who understands business, made a payroll, and someone who knew how to grow companies, see how they work from the inside out. And you're obviously one of the few out there who's actually done that. We appreciate everything you've done on the campaign trail. You have been instrumental across this country in New England, raising money for good people. Thank you so much for joining us. I know how busy you are. And say hey to Ann, and I'll be up there pouring the tea into the harbor with you.
Great, Laura. Look forward to seeing you.
All right, you take care. Mitt Romney on your Healthy Radio Addiction.
The Laura Ingraham Show.